Somewhere in Lancaster County right now, an Amish woman is up before the sun, lighting a kerosene lamp because the house has no wire running to it at all. And what she knows about running a household on almost nothing, she will never put into words for an outsider to hear. Because she is running an entire economy that has no bank account, no credit score, and no machine to do the hard parts for her. And there are 25 things Amish women know, do, and never explain to the English world watching from the road. Hold on to one phrase, because it explains nearly everything that follows. The work the plain life was built on. Let's start with number 25. Number 25. The lamp got trimmed and lit before anything else in the house woke up. Most Amish homes run on no public electricity at all, by the rules of the local church district, called the Ordung. So mornings start with a kerosene or propane lamp, wick trimmed short so it burns clean instead of smoking up the glass. That small chore, done in the dark, is what the rest of the day is built on top of. Today, the English world flips a switch and never thinks about the flame that used to do the same job. The lamp lit the house. The next machine still runs the wash. Number 24. Monday is still wash day, and it still runs on a gas engine and a hand-guided wringer. Many Amish households use a wringer washer, but powered by a small gas or diesel motor instead of the electric grid, since the Ordnung permits the engine, but not the wire. Wet cloth is heavy and dangerous to twist by hand, so the wringer does the brutal part. Then everything goes out on the line, regardless of the season. A modern dryer would finish the job in an hour, but the line is what the community allows, and the smell it leaves has never been matched by a machine. That labor everyone driving past can see. The next is done alone at the quilting frame. Number 23. She turned scraps too small for anything else into quilts that took months. Nothing gets thrown away in a plain household, so worn dresses, old shirts, and fabric scraps get sorted, cut, and pieced into a quilt top, often at a gathering of women called a quilting bee. The top gets stretched on a wooden frame, and the actual quilting, stitching through 3 layers by hand in tiny, even rows, can take a woman or a group of women weeks of evenings to finish. A wedding quilt or a friendship quilt carries the maker's hours in every stitch. Outsiders now pay hundreds of dollars at a farm stand for what was never meant to be sold at all. Before we keep going, if you'd rather listen to this one than watch it, we're now live on Spotify. Search us there and hit follow, so the next countdown is waiting in your feed. A quilt saved the scraps. A treadle machine saved the rest of the mending. Number 22. The treadle sewing machine and the mending basket meant almost nothing store-bought ever got worn twice without a repair. Because many ordnungs forbid an electric machine, sewing is done on a foot-pedaled treadle machine, and a skilled woman can run one nearly as fast as an electric one once her rhythm is set. Beside it sits a basket for darning socks, patching knees, and letting out a hem as a child grows into it. Clothes in a plain household are sewn at home in the first place, often from the same handful of patterns passed mother to daughter. So mending them is simply continuing the same work. From here, the countdown moves from the cloth in her hands to the money she is trusted to manage. Number 21. She kept the household accounts in a notebook because the family does not believe in debt. Amish communities are built around the idea that a family should not owe outside institutions. So a written household ledger, every dollar earned and spent, is common practice. And the wife is often the one who keeps it. With no mortgage in the conventional sense, and no credit card in the house at all, the ledger is not a budgeting trick. It is the only tool that exists to see the month coming. She was the bookkeeper of a household that considers borrowing from a bank close to a moral failure. And she has never once been late on anything, because there was never anything to be late on. The ledger was the map. The cash itself was how she held the line. Number 20. Grocery and household money is still handled largely in cash, and when it runs out, the spending stops. Without credit cards in daily use, a plain household budgets in envelopes or tins, marked for feed, cloth, church benevolence, and groceries. When an envelope is empty, that category is done for the month, full stop, and the garden or the pantry fills the gap instead. The English world now sells this back as a trendy budgeting hack. In an Amish kitchen, it was never a hack. It is simply the only system a cash economy has ever had. Stretching the cash was one art. Stretching the harvest was another. Number 19. Bread is baked at home most days, and nothing from that oven goes to waste. A plain kitchen bakes its own bread, often several loaves at once. And whatever goes stale becomes bread pudding, stuffing, or is dried into crumbs for a casserole. Store-bought bread is seen as both an expense and a small failure of the kitchen. Today's English shopper buys a fresh loaf and throws out the heel. In the Amish kitchen, the heel was always the start of tomorrow's dinner, not the end of today's. Now for the habit that carries a family clear through winter. Number 18. The cellar shelves fill every summer with jars she sealed herself. Canning surplus garden produce, tomatoes, green beans, peaches, apple butter is one of the most constant jobs of an Amish summer, done in a hot kitchen over a wood or gas stove. Jar after jar, processed in a water bath until the lid gives that small metallic pop that means it's sealed. A well-stocked cellar can carry a large family through a winter with almost no trip to a store. Today, a jar of the same apple butter sells at a roadside stand for $6 to a tourist who has never canned a thing in their life. If the cellar was her bank, the icebox was her daily ledger of what could not wait. Number 17. Many homes still cool food with ice or a gas-powered fridge instead of the electric kind. Because the grid is off limits in most ordnungs, food is kept cold in a propane refrigerator, or in some of the more conservative communities, an old-style icebox stocked from a block of ice cut from a pond in winter and stored in sawdust in an ice house. Milk, butter, and meat get arranged by how cold each needs to stay, and the meltwater pan gets emptied by hand. A modern refrigerator hums along without a thought. This one is checked and managed like a small machine she is personally responsible for keeping alive. Cold storage held the food. Timing put it on the table. Number 16. Dinner is on the table the minute the men come in from the field by careful design. A farm household runs on a schedule set by daylight and by the animals, and a woman times a full dinner, meat, potatoes, vegetables, pie, to land hot the moment the work stops for the midday or evening meal. There is no microwave to rescue a mistimed roast. There is only practiced judgment built over years of exactly when to start each pot. Today's English household waits on a delivery app counting down minutes. This kitchen has never needed one. She timed the kitchen like a clock. She also stocked the cupboard under the sink herself. Number 15. The cleaning cabinet holds vinegar, baking soda, and homemade lye soap. Nothing with a brand name on it at all. Vinegar cuts grease and hard water film. Baking soda scrubs and deodorizes. And many households still render their own soap from lard and lye the old way. A plain home is expected to be immaculate, and it is kept that way with ingredients that cost pennies and were never bought in a store built for the purpose. The English world now pays a premium for natural cleaning products built from the same two ingredients she has always bought loose. Some of her work was thrift. Some of it was hospitality. Number 14. The good dishes came out for church Sunday, whether or not there were guests. Every other Sunday, church meets in a member's home, and the woman of that house feeds the entire congregation, sometimes over 100 people, in shifts, from her own kitchen. The house is scrubbed top to bottom beforehand, regardless of how clean it already was, because hosting church is treated as one of the highest honors a household can be given. Today, most of us clean only when company is confirmed. This kitchen is kept ready for 100 guests that might come every other week. Hospitality fed the church. Arithmetic fed the family every day in between. Number 13. She can feed a family of 8 on what one restaurant dinner costs today. Large families are the norm, often 6 or more children, and meals are built around what the garden, the animals, and the cellar already provided, rather than what a grocery store sells. Cheap cuts get braised slow, a single chicken gets stretched across several meals, and almost nothing gets scraped into the trash. A family that size eating out even once would cost more than she spends feeding everyone for a week, which is exactly why they never do. She stretched the food. She also ran a network of trade most outsiders never notice. Number 12. The Eggman, the Raw Milk Co-op, and the farm stand next door all know her by name. Without a supermarket at the center of daily life, plain households trade constantly with neighbors, eggs for produce, quilting, help for canning help, and a woman manages this web of small debts and favors entirely in her head, no ledger needed for those. Today's English shopper scrolls an app, and a stranger drops a bag at the door. This network runs on faces, names, and memory, the same way it has for generations. That work the community can see. The next kind, almost no one sees at all. Number 11. She keeps the household calm the way she keeps the wash line even, quietly, and without being asked. Beneath the cooking and the canning sits a second job with no name in any church guideline, the steady work of smoothing tempers, absorbing a hard day, keeping the children settled so a tired husband finds peace rather than more noise. This labor produces nothing you can in a jar or hang on a line, and it is never counted as work at all, even inside a community that counts almost everything. Step back from the countdown for a moment, because the question is not only what she does, but what it holds up. The Ordnung decides which machines the household may use, and nearly every one of those decisions falls heaviest on her hands, since laundry, cooking, and preserving were always hers before electricity was even a question. The plain life that outsiders romanticize as simple is, from her side of the kitchen, a life built by refusing almost every labor-saving device the rest of the country adopted and absorbing that extra labor herself on purpose as an act of faith. She rarely says this out loud because saying it would sound like a complaint, and complaint is not really part of the life she chose or was raised into. Number 10. She knows the family's entire way of life rests on work no one outside pays her for. The comfortable farmhouse, the full cellar, the children clothed and fed, the church properly hosted. All of it runs on hands that receive no wage and appear on no tax form, because the household itself is not organized around wages at all. Cost out what she does in a single week: canning, sewing, cooking for 100, tending a cellar's worth of food, and it would be a second income most families could never otherwise afford. That is the work that does not count, holding up a life the outside world drives past and calls simple. She held up the household without a dollar of her own name on anything. Number 9. Property, the farm, and most legal paperwork are typically held in her husband's name, not hers. Church districts vary, but in most, formal ownership and outside legal dealings run through the husband, and a wife's economic life exists largely inside the household economy rather than the legal one. She may keep the ledger and manage the cash day to day, but her name is rarely the one on the deed. It is not so different from the constraint her English great-grandmother lived under, just carried forward inside a community that chose, deliberately, to keep much of the outside world's changes at arm's length. Ownership was one boundary. Schooling was another, set even earlier. Number 8. Her formal schooling ended at the 8th grade by law and by choice. The 1972 Supreme Court case, Wisconsin versus Yoder, affirmed the right of Amish families to stop formal education after 8th grade, on the reasoning that further schooling threatened the community's religious way of life. From then on, education continues at home in farming, cooking, quilting, and faith, rather than in a classroom. Many of these women are sharp, capable, and quietly resourceful in ways no test ever measured, and the door past the 8th grade was never one they were expected to walk through. The classroom closed early, what she was allowed to want closed with it mostly. Number 7. She measures her years in her children's milestones and the community's calendar, rarely her own. Ask a plain woman how her decade went, and the answer comes back in baptisms, weddings, barn raisings, and harvests, not in any personal account of her own growth. There is a real cost to a life organized so completely around others that almost no one, including herself, keeps a private ledger of who she is becoming, separate from the roles she fills. The community gives her belonging in exchange, which is its own kind of wealth, but it is not the same thing as being asked what she wanted for herself. A life measured only in others carries its own quiet weight. Number 6. Rumspringa is the one window where she got to ask what she actually wanted, and most came back anyway. In their late teens, many Amish youth are given a period of loosened rules, Rumspringa, to experience the outside world before choosing, as adults, whether to be baptized into the church for life. The vast majority return and join, not because the door was locked, but because it was genuinely left open and they chose the plain life anyway. It is one of the only moments in the whole system where an Amish woman's own preference, freely stated, decided the entire shape of the rest of her years. She chose the life. What she does inside it is still rarely credited as choice's daily proof. Number 5. She quietly teaches her daughters the same skills and lets each one choose for herself when the time comes. Without lectures on independence, an Amish mother passes down canning, quilting, sewing, and the ledger itself, not to trap her daughter in the role, but because these are the actual tools of the only economy she will ever need to run, inside the church or out of it. She has seen what the outside world offers during Rumspringa and what it costs, and she raises her daughters capable enough to choose either path with open eyes, rather than steering them by force toward the one she took. She invested in a future she may not fully see. The picture beyond the fence rarely shows the cost of it. Number 4. She is the entire reason the Plain Life postcard looks so effortless. The image outsiders photograph from the road, the clean farmhouse, the full clothesline, the quiet dinner table, the barn raised in a single day, runs on labor she does inside a system with no electricity to shortcut any of it. She is the reason a 100-person church dinner appears on the table on schedule. The reason the quilt exists to sell at the stand. The reason the household needing no bank loan actually survives without one. Tourists slow their cars for the picture and rarely picture what building it by hand every single day actually costs her, which leaves the one truth beneath all the others, the thing she knows most surely and says least of all. Number 3. The one thing she never says out loud to an outsider is that the work no one counts is the work holding the whole Plain Life up. Every habit in this countdown, the lamp and the treadle machine, the envelopes and the ledger, the sealed jars and the church Sunday dinner, points to a single fact she understands better than anyone watching from a passing car. Her labor is the foundation the household and the community both stand on. And because the whole system is built around faith rather than wages, almost no one, not the church, not the law, not the tourists, counts it as labor at all, only as devotion. She holds that truth the way she holds a hot dish out of the oven, carefully, without complaint, and hands the same tools down to her daughters, without ever asking to be repaid. Number 2, and here is the last truth, the quiet answer to why she does not envy what the English world calls progress. She has watched electricity, credit cards, and labor-saving machines pass her door for 100 years and chosen, deliberately, generation after generation, not to let them in, not because she does not understand what they offer, but because she has decided the cost to the community's way of life is higher than the convenience is worth. That choice, repeated daily in 100 small refusals, is its own form of work, holding a line the rest of the country gave up without a fight. So here is the challenge, and it is a gentle one. Pick one habit from the countdown and try it this week. Keep a written household ledger for 30 days, every dollar in and out the way she does. Can one small batch of something from your own kitchen instead of buying it? Or spend one evening mending something by hand instead of replacing it? I will tell you what happened when I tried the cash envelope method myself for a month. The small, forgotten purchases, the ones that never feel like anything, simply stopped. Because spending real cash that has to leave an envelope feels different from tapping a card. So tell me in the comments which one you will actually try, canning, mending, or the ledger, and whether a modern household could really keep it up. And whichever you choose, do it once at your own kitchen table, the way she does at hers, for the work that finally, after all this time, deserves to be counted.